Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. So something that I've been seeing crop up again and again in my comments recently is how do I get the Boeing 737 by PMDG into reverse thrust using my Airbus Throttle Quadrant. Now I've got a bit of an unusual setup and one that triggers quite a lot of people to comment on it. The most frequent one I get is, why are you using a Boeing Yoke and an Airbus Throttle? Some people really don't like that for some reason, but the answer is simple, and I think maybe the way my setup is framed, a lot of people maybe don't notice the Airbus side stick that I've got over here on the left. So the reason I've got it set up like this is so I can easily switch between Airbus and Boeing. If I'm on Airbus, I've got the throttle, I've got the side stick. If I'm Boeing, I've got the yoke, I've got the throttles. Now, why don't I go for Boeing throttles instead of Airbus throttles? And the reason for that is I find the Airbus throttles are a really good way to switch between Airbus and Boeing, because of course you've kind of got the detents in the Airbus throttle that you don't get in the Boeing. And I find when I'm flying Boeing, you just push through the detents and you ignore them as if they're not there. So it makes it really nice to swing back and forth between Boeing and Airbus. I'm trying to make my setup as kind of agnostic as possible with regards to Airbus versus Boeing. I just want a yoke that's good, a side stick that's good, and a set of throttles that's good. So that's kind of why I've landed on what I have, and I would recommend it to others. It's worked really, really well. But the one thing that I get a lot of questions on is specifically about this is, how do you get the reverse thrust to work in the Boeing PMDG? So we're going to go through that today. Okay, so I've zoomed us in on the Airbus throttle so we can have a bit of a better look. So what I'll do is I'll demonstrate how it works, and here we go. So we've got park and brake off. So if I push the throttles forward, you see they just move just like normal. Bring them back and do the Airbus style reverse thrust motion. So pull up on the levers and then pull them back. You see we get reverse thrust. Now, I should say it's not perfect. It's either complete reverse thrust or no reverse thrust. There's no sort of sliding scale when you move the levers. It's either on or it's off. So that is one potential downside. There is another method you can do where you can assign, you've got a little red button here, you've got another one on this side. Another method is you can press and hold one of these buttons that you map it to, and as long as you're pressing and holding, reverse mode is then activated. Then you can sort of push the throttles to kind of give it a scale of how much reverse to give it. But I personally don't like that method. I find it a bit weird in practice. So let me just dive into the settings real quick and I'll show you how I've got it set up. Now the best thing you can do, where are we? Here we go. So I've made another profile specifically for flying Boeing. If you want to make a new one for what you're doing, go to Open Preset Manager. You can make a brand new one, or you can copy the one you're already looking at and then modify it from there. It's nice and easy to do, but we won't do that for now. So what we'll do is we'll go into the Power Management section, into the Throttle section. Now you'll see I've got throttles 1, 2, 3 and 4 mapped here. This is just in case I ever fly like a 747. So you'll notice if I move the right throttle lever, that's doing 4 and 2, which is the right side of a 747. And similarly, you've got 1 and 3 on the left axis here. Next up, we have what these are here. Let's see, you've got throttle 4 decrease, throttle 3 decrease, 2 and 1. Now, you got for the right throttle, you use joystick button 16 to do throttle 2 decrease, and that is what triggers the reverse thrust. On the left throttle, you've got joystick button 12, which triggers the throttle 1 decrease. Now, joystick button 12 and joystick button 16 aren't really buttons that you can press, so if you kind of go into here, we'll try and map it again. Click into there to start scanning your inputs. It's really hard. Just by moving these, you see it's already tried to assign joystick L-axis X+, which is not what we want. There is no way through you moving this joystick for you to select button 12 and 16, but you go into the drop-down list, you got joystick button 12, and then you can select it. And go down a bit further, joystick button 16. So you got 12 that goes on throttle 1, and 3 if you want the 747, 16 that goes on throttle 2 decrease, and 4 again if you want the 747. So what these joystick buttons 16 and 12 do, basically, as you move the thrust levers back into the reverse position, it kind of triggers those to be those inputs to be activated, which then decreases the throttle all the way down, all the way down, all the way down, all the way down, until of course it reaches the maximum reverse thrust. And then you bring the throttles back to idle, and obviously that stops being the case, and then the throttle position takes over and brings you back to idle, or maybe if you push it a bit further to wherever you push it. Only other thing we need to talk about to make this all work nicely is the sensitivity settings. So just one more time. There we go. Click into that one. You're on the Boeing profile. Sensitivity. So this is a little bit weird. So you see here, I've got the currently throttles in the idle position. As I push them forward, you see how they're kind of on that curve there. And then on the reversers, we've got them completely flat. So the values you need: sensitivity for the minus 25%, 100% on the plus, dead zone 55%, neutral 100, extremity dead zone 0, reactivity 100%. What you can do if you want more of a straight line on the throttles, you can set the sensitivity to 0. But I just find through kind of trial and error, leaving it at 25 kind of gives it quite a natural feel on the throttles. You kind of get like the right curve as you're pushing through the throttles. You may find you don't like that, but I find it works really well for me, and I've kind of gotten used to it now. So there's an element of sort of personal bias going on as well. So yeah, make sure your sensitivities are set up like this. Otherwise, everything I've just shown you may also not work. And there we have it. And that is how we use the Airbus Throttle with the Boeing PMDG 737. Expect these settings to work when the 777 comes out, and in turn the 747 from PMDG. I find it works really, really well. I know it triggers a lot of people to leave comments, and that's fine. It kind of makes me laugh, and in a weird way, people think they're being really smart leaving the comments telling me that I'm stupid, but actually it kind of makes my videos perform better because YouTube sees that as engagement. So thanks. Really appreciate the comments. Let me know in the comments, so genuinely, if you use an Airbus Throttle with a Boeing aircraft. I'd be keen to hear from you. Or one other throttle I did consider was the is it the Bravo Throttle? That one, the one that's quite expensive but looks really cool. But it's a little bit out of budget, unfortunately. So maybe someday. But for right now, this Airbus Throttle works really well. And of course, you can get the add-on packs as well, which is probably the next the other shoe to drop for me. So you can get the speed brakes and the landing gear switches and the flaps, levers and all that stuff. I did see a really cool mod as well where you can 3D print an insert for the flaps lever, where it gives you a load of detents and you adjust the handle so it comes on a little spring. It makes it really Boeing-y. I might do that. I don't have a 3D printer, but I might be able to get hold of one just for that one project. So keep your eyes peeled for that, which is a good point to mention. Get sub to the channel, so if I ever do make that video, you don't miss out on it. And of course, we have our live streams where we go live. Haven't been doing so much lately because summer and real life adult responsibilities. Boo hiss, I know. But new schedule for me coming up soon, so I'm really looking forward to that. It should give us a bit more time on the channel as well. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling and leave it there. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.